Kucha. It's a Japanese word, it means chit-chat. And it was started about 10 years ago in Tokyo. There was a bunch of designers who were hanging out. And they thought, how can we show each other our work and not make it boring? How can we avoid death by PowerPoint? So they came up with this idea called Pecha Kucha, and it's this dynamic talk format where it's 20 slides per presenter, and each slide is up for 20 seconds, and the presenter does not have control over their slides. And that will be the case tonight. We have 6 great presenters, and we're going to get to them in 1 minute. Before we get to them, I just want to mention that many of you were at the vigil that took place on Sunday night. And some of you might have traveled here by yourself, and a lot of you know about what's going on in the community right now regarding safety. So if you are here by yourself and you want someone to travel home with you, it's a very friendly community, ask around before you go home. Because obviously holding evening events these days is something that everyone should be cognizant of. As well, tomorrow from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, some of you might have seen that there's a meeting at the Yoga Barn. And it's a community safety meeting. It's led by the Ubud Watch group, and the idea is to get people together and to talk about some of the safety problems that are going on in the community and some of the priorities that people think we should be moving forward with. So, a bit of a downer, but important, and obviously we're all taking it very seriously here in Ubud. So, moving on to our first talk, our first speaker. We have 6 speakers, as I mentioned, and our first, I haven't seen the talk yet, but I hear is a little bit experimental, a little bit different. A little bird told me. Justin would probably agree with that. Justin Andries is originally from South Africa. He's lived in Bali for about 3 years. He does life coaching and spiritual coaching, and his talk today is about expanding consciousness, stepping beyond the veil. Justin Andries. Here he is.
Perception is the window through which we perceive our life and our existence. Perception has grown from an amalgamation of every single experience we've ever had. Our feelings, our thoughts, emotions, our conditioning, our environment, karma, past lifetimes. All of this contributes to the way that we see life, that we experience the world we live in. Now, have you ever been far outside in nature, far away from any source of light pollution? You looked up at the night sky. You could see the entire Milky Way beaming, streaming down upon you. In that moment, you did not feel alone. You could feel the luminescent gaze of stars and planets and distant galaxies beaming down upon you. That intensity, that power, that immeasurable beauty is streaming and flooding and pouring down upon us right now, be it during the day or inside of a building. It is merely our consciousness that is not open enough, the knowledge that is not ingrained enough in our perception, in our experience, that we don't perceive it. The stars don't go away. It is merely our consciousness that is not included. So, the world is, the more we allow our perception to expand, the more we can perceive. We get so bogged down by the reality of our lives, by our thoughts and our feelings and our story, that we lose track of who we truly are, and we lose the infinite ability of what is our potential. Our perception shrinks to a state where we only see fears and doubts, and we don't grow beyond that. 2 people can be standing naked on a beach somewhere, watching the most beautiful sunset ever conceived. One, overcome by joy of it, the other, manic depressive. The external situation is exactly the same. It is the internal perception that alters the experience. When we realize this, that the world is benign, that the world can offer us anything that we wish, and we can harness that for our fullest potential, then we can expand and grow so much greater from that state. People lift up cars, not because they are aware of the weight of the car. It is rather that the perception is on the person that they're trying to save. So their focus is on the objective. It is what they want to achieve. It is not on the obstacle or the thing that is standing in their way. They feel and that they know that they are greater than something else. Within that split second of a moment, in that moment, the weight of a car is not even aware of their consciousness. It is not there. Therefore, they are capable of superhuman powers and abilities. It is merely because right now they are focused on what they want, not on everything else. So I invite you to travel with me, to step out of your current life and your current story, to travel higher to a state where you can truly hear the thunder of your soul, where you can become conscious of the immeasurable truth of who we truly are, and you can really feel what all of this existence is. So, step out of your body, become conscious and aware of where you are in this room right now. Become conscious of the people that are sitting around you, their perceptions and understandings. We move higher to include the rest of Ubud. We move from Kuta to Sanur. We move from the north of the island to the very south. People arriving and departing in the airport, where they are coming from, what they are taking with them. Of all the Westerners and all the local people that live here, their perceptions, their understandings, their consciousness. We move higher to the rest of Indonesia and all the countless islands of Japan and the Philippines, of China, of Australia and New Zealand. Possibly people who are going home, people who are having dinner right now, people that are waking up, some who are having the worst day of their life and others the most memorable. At this very exact moment, someone could be having the strength and the courage to change their life around from something which was inconceivably impossible. We move higher to include Europe and Africa and the Americas, not only becoming aware of the perception in the people, but also to the contrast. How different are the lives of those living in the same time zone in the North America to South America? The contrast, the difference in the diversity that is so different to each of them. Become aware of people walking in the desert in Somalia, and the dust and the heat, searching for water. Of people caught in a storm on a boat in the Arctic, groping for a reprieve in dry land. Of astronauts floating up in space in the silence, longing for those who they are most closest to. We become conscious of every grain of sand, every drop of water, every blade of grass, of every being and creature from the darkest depths of the ocean to the highest rims of our atmosphere. We feel and we are aware of the pulse of this planet that is beating in unison to the cycles of creation, the beauty, the wonder, and the splendor of this planet we call home. We travel higher and we see planet Earth hovering in space. And we feel and we become conscious of the life-giving, omnipresent arms of the sun that is enveloping us. And just visualize the flames and the power and the intensity with which the sun burns every single day. And how inconceivably vast the sun is compared to you sitting in your chair right now. Stars, planets, asteroids, plethora of astral phenomena, galaxies beyond that. It is inconceivable to travel to the outer rims of this universe, or possible universes. And the empty space that carries us between that, it is infinitely expansive. So with this heightened state of consciousness, do you truly believe that the things that you worry about matter? Bank balances, health, feelings, emotions, thoughts, all of this dissolves in the awareness of the presence that we are living in an infinite universe, that we have no boundaries, there are no limitations, there are no obstructions, it is absolute. Breathe in the reality of this expansive truth and the unequivocal beauty of it. The expression of the universe is intangibly magnificent, and us by default, as are we. Breathe that in. There is no resistance, there are no boundaries, there are no obstacles. We see the world and we feel that. We make this truth a part of our reality. It's ingrained into our perception. The knowledge, the truth, the understanding. Everything we see is beautiful. Everyone is beautiful because our heart is beautiful. And from that state, we are absolute. We feel so much. We are so much. So I invite you, go outside and feel the rain. Feel this existence that you are in. Feel the sovereignty of who you are. Because it isn't just this moment. There is so much more for you.
Few questions. Do we have any questions? There's Galen in the back.
Yeah, I really love that. There was so much passion behind it. I just wonder where you got some of those beautiful images.
Pardon?
Where did you get some of those beautiful images you used?
So I'm going to repeat the question. She said, where did you get some of the beautiful images that you used?
I'm a very visual person, and a lot of them comes from Facebook. And I started creating a photo cache. So I've got almost 3,000 pictures. that I just started collecting. If it stands out, I save it. The problem is if there's a specific picture, I have to go through all of them to find the one I want. So I'm very visual.
The question is, can you fly?
Why would I want to? I'm having fun right now.
Any more questions for Justin? All right, thank you, Justin. Okay, up next is Vivian Ayun. Vivian is originally from Bandung. I think some of her Copernic colleagues are here. She's originally from Bandung and has lived in Bali since 2013. Before living in Bali, she spent a year living in East Kalimantan in Borneo, in a small village of about 1,000 people, where she taught in a program called Indonesia Menjaga, which is similar to the Teach for America program in other places, or other places have it. Since the last little while, since 2013, she's been here in Ubud, working for Copernic as a research officer, where she travels around Indonesia and has even been to Africa for Copernic. And today she's going to talk about a program that she helped start here in Ubud called Kelas Inspirasi Ubud. And it's a national program, and she has started a local branch here with some of her former colleagues. So here she is, Vivian Ayun, igniting the Indonesian dream.
So, most of us here probably familiar with the concept of the American dream, or even heard of it. But what about the Indonesian dream? What is it? Is there any such thing as Indonesian dream? Well, please allow me to tell you my dream. I consider myself lucky to have grown up with having a lot of dreams. I wanted to be an architect, I wanted to study in a good university, I wanted to be a journalist, and I was lucky enough to achieve many of my dreams, one way or another. But among all those dreams, one was the most important. It was my first dream to become a teacher, because I looked up to my teacher at that time. So occasionally, I would take out my collection of dolls and arrange them as if they were in my classroom, and then pretended to be a teacher. One time, I even had my grandfather to be my student. Fast forward to 20 years later, I had the opportunity to teach in Kalimantan, in a remote area, in an elementary school there. In there, I saw the reality of Indonesian education. And my favorite topic of conversation with my student was about their cita-cita. What is cita-cita? Well, cita-cita is an Indonesian word for hope, dream, or aspiration. It's what you want to be when you grow up, be it a teacher, a doctor, or a football player. And those are actually the most popular answers from my students. But it's because they didn't know any other thing. They had limited options. For example, Iqbal, he's one of my students. When I asked him, what is your cita-cita? He said, I don't have any. Why should I? I'll just be a farmer like my father. Iqbal, at the age of 15, was the oldest student in the elementary school. And I'm not saying that being a farmer is not a high dream or honorable dream. It is. But it broke my heart to see a child who wouldn't allow themselves to have a dream. And I believe Iqbal is not the only one. In Indonesia, about 50% of elementary school students do not continue to middle school, and fewer of them even continue all the way to university. So what if one of the important factors that stop them from pursuing a higher education is because they don't have any dream to motivate them? Children's dream is like a flickering light of candle. One by one, they are tiny, insignificant. But this is a nation of at least 120 million children. That's 120 million dreams. If those lights are nurtured, can you imagine how bright the lights that will shine? So, nurturing those tiny dreams are the responsibility for those who had their own lights to shine, those who were lucky enough to pursue their own childhood dream. They should be the inspiration for these kids. And that's what started Kelas Inspirasi. Kelas Inspirasi is a volunteer-based movement which aspires to bring inspirational individuals back to their root, a school classroom. They take a day off from their work, come to the students, and inspire them, teach them the importance of education through having dreams. We took the angle of profession because Indonesian kids are familiar with the concept of cita-cita, but they're lacking of role models to inspire them, to look up to them. Through Kelas Inspirasi, we introduce them to new role models. Our volunteers share their stories with fun and interactive methods. For example, in one of our classrooms, the students learn to give examination on sick animals, as taught by our volunteer who works as a vet, Natalia. In the other classroom, this was not Obama. This was Gungde, a native Balinese. He works as a journalist. In order to explain his job to these kids, he brought a familiar face, and the kids got to interview them. And yeah, they became a journalist for a day, right? And this is my favorite one. His name is Pak Danur. He's a lawyer based in Bandung. He also took a day off from work and then bought a ticket to Bali, walked into a classroom in Kedewatan Elementary School wearing his advocate robe. He was ready to share his job as a lawyer. And the kids were very enthusiastic to see him because he thought he was a magician. Before that day, these kids didn't know that there's a profession called lawyer. Well, at least after that day, Pak Danur managed to open up their horizon that if you want to wear a cool robe to work, be a lawyer. So there were just 3 out of 31 volunteers who came and who took a day off and go back to school with us last April. They saw the classroom from a different perspective, from a teacher's perspective. They didn't have any background in teaching, but they were there with the same spirit to ignite these kids' dream. We had architects, accountants, radio announcers, and software programmers to come and inspire the students in 5 elementary schools in Ubud last April. Okay. From the big cities to small town in Indonesia, the inspirators are on the move. Now, the Kelas Inspirasi is organized in 39 cities in Indonesia. In Bali, we had Kelas Inspirasi Bangli last year and Kelas Inspirasi Ubud this year, and more to come. And many people are participating as volunteers because for the volunteers, this is an eye-opening experience. They get to see the Indonesian education up close, be in its modest classroom, face the struggles that the teachers have to face every day. So, and we want them to be confident that they too can make a difference, even if it just takes a day off from work. So, in order to define what Indonesian dream is, we need to make sure that every child, every person had access to one. So the next time you see these kids, ask them, what is your cita-cita? And make them believe that they too can achieve it. Thank you.
Questions, Marina?
Thank you.
So the question is, as a foreigner, how can she get involved?
Well, for Kelas Inspirasi Ubud, we already had it last year, and hopefully we're gonna have it every year. But I think there are more to come, and I hear that there will be Kelas Inspirasi Bali sometime this year, I think. Well, we want to prioritize these Indonesian children to be motivated by, the same Indonesian adults, perhaps. But we're open if you would like to document, like be a volunteer for photographing or even to blog about it and tell it to, well, many people in the world. So.
More questions? Alex Ryan.
Luar biasa, terima kasih Vivian.
Terima kasih. And I didn't do it by myself, but I have all my, some of the volunteers are here, so please give a round of applause for them too.
You mentioned East Kalimantan. What was the project or the program that you're working for, and whereabouts was it? What village or what Kalimantan or Kabupaten?
The question is, where were you in East Kalimantan and what was the program you were working on?
The program was called Indonesia Mengajar. It's an equivalent of like Teach for America, maybe in the States. So I was there for a year in a district called Pasir. It's in East Kalimantan. Through driving through lands, it will be 4 to 5 hours. It was near Balikpapan.
And who funded the program?
Who funded the program? Well, it's a national NGO. We had donation, we had grants and sponsors.
Yeah.
Is the project available in Jakarta? And the other question is, has there been any help from the government or any
So the question is is the program happening in Jakarta and is there any government help?
Actually, the program started in Jakarta in 2012. This is the third year it's happening, and in Jakarta it's already been 3 times. And as far as the government help, I don't think there's any because it's a volunteer base. All the photographers, the volunteers, the photographers who took all the beautiful pictures, they're all volunteers. And we as the organizers are also volunteers, so no government subsidy or anything.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Vivian. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are not going to do an intermission today, so if you do need to get a drink or go to the bathroom or just go ahead whenever you get a chance, there will be a very short song and dance by Steve Monroe, as is tradition, after the next speaker. And as well, there will be music in the courtyard afterwards. And finally, we ask all of the speakers to stick around afterwards because people often have more questions that they want to ask them. So you can do that outside afterwards. All right, our next speaker, Nancy Martin. Nancy is a mother, a singer, an energy worker, and a doula. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term doula, a doula is a birth companion, a woman who assists a pregnant woman in physical, emotional, and spiritual, non-medical ways. And today she's going to be talking about childbirth, a woman's rite of passage, and she's going to be talking about how to have your dream birth, how she will teach how she's assisted people and how she continues to. Oh wait, okay. You know what? I'm gonna stop. Nancy Martin, childbirth, a woman's rite of passage.
I think I'm the only one who has notes. Yes, I'm ready. The way babies are received into the world sets the tone for how they interact with others for the rest of their lives. The way a mother feels when she births her baby influences the way she connects with her baby and her community from that point forward. As a woman, this is her biggest rite of passage. In ancient cultures, childbirth was a chance to celebrate the creation of life. A pregnant woman was revered as a goddess, and she was considered fully capable. During her passage into motherhood, she was surrounded by wise women and felt supported and empowered. What happens when a woman feels empowered in this passage? She relaxes, she opens, and she surrenders. Nature takes over. She feels the essence of the universe and the power that creates worlds. This power courses through her, and she realizes she is this power, the ultimate truth. Birth is a chance for a woman to travel to the deepest level of her being. When respected as the rite of passage that it truly is, giving birth can be an opportunity for women to enter into states that enlightened masters speak of. It can be one of the most powerful spiritual experiences of a woman's life. So why are we hearing of pain and trauma and countless interventions, rather than these stories of women merging with the power of the universe and discovering their true essence during childbirth? I believe that it all boils down to one four-letter word: fear. In the majority of places in the modern world, childbirth is an event to be terrified of. It's viewed to be inevitably painful, dangerous, and in many situations, a medical emergency. Cesarean section, a surgery once reserved for life-threatening cases only, has now become the most common operation in America. Think of the messages we grow up with around childbirth. The movie scene goes like this. The woman's water suddenly breaks, she's driven frantically to the hospital, and within minutes of arriving, she's screaming for drugs to relieve her pain. No wonder so many women are afraid. But could it be this fear that's causing our suffering? A 1920s English obstetrician, Grantley Dick Reed, noticed that no other animal species experienced pain or agony during birth. He hypothesized that fear and tension were the cause of pain. He soon introduced the fear-tension-pain cycle. When afraid, the body enters into a state of fight or flight. All of the blood is moved away from the non-essential organs needed for survival. Unfortunately, for a birthing woman, this means her uterus. However, the great force behind childbirth continues to work wonders. But the woman, unable to open, experiences excruciating pain. This creates more fear, and then the cycle begins to loop. It's as if she's stuck in a labyrinth with no way out. She suddenly feels helpless and instinctively knows that something has gone terribly wrong. Enter the modern symbols of our ancient rite of passage: pain relief, artificial hormones, and possibly surgery. Without understanding the cause, pain is addressed rather than the root cause, fear. Interventions became the norm, and a woman grieves silently as she feels something has been taken away from her. Marie Mongan, author of Hypnobirthing, writes, "Birth has been broken. The spirit of women with respect to their innate birthing power has been broken. By seriously looking at the effect of fear, perhaps we can keep the finely tuned precision bodies of women whole for future generations." When a woman understands the fear, tension, pain cycle, she can find a supportive birth team to help her work through her fears as early as the first few months in pregnancy. This is essential to her having a comfortable, empowering, and safe birthing journey. There are many women working with doulas, midwives, hypnobirthing therapists, and others to have natural births free of interventions. Some of these women are experiencing painless births, some even orgasmic. One woman describes her experience. "My growls all of a sudden became soft, roaring noises, and the roars only got louder through my contractions. It felt so perfectly instinctual to let go and just be, just feel, and let my body and mind and soul focus on birthing. There were no distractions. There was no pain. Just good, strong, intense stretching." Another woman writes, "The sensation is ecstatic. I'm building up to the birth climax after 9 months of pleasurable foreplay. With one push, the babe is in the canal. The next push brings him down into that space just before orgasm, when we women know how God must have felt creating this planet." Now, most of us have never heard stories like these, but what if they became the norm? Our entrance into this world acts as a blueprint for how we interact, and we're discovering more all the time how deeply this first impression affects us. Peaceful births lead to peaceful lives. It's time to start telling a new birth story. Today we have a unique opportunity to work together with the sisterhood of midwives and birth companions to make informed choices, while still feeling supported by the expertise of the medical field if a truly life-threatening situation were to arise. We can become aware of our language, especially around our daughters. And instead of dumping our fears onto them, we can work to trust women and their capable bodies. We can reweave the fabric of community for our mothers so they feel empowered and supported in their precious rite of passage. Imagine what this world would be like if every birthing mother were respected and gently guided to open, trust, and surrender to the ultimate creative force that is the essence and truth of this life. Can we begin to tell a birthing story of love and connection rather than fear and separation? This is my deepest prayer, and I hope you'll join me. I've been a doula for about 2.5 years, and I've been a part of 3 births so far, and I have 2 coming up in the summer, and I've been working with people online a lot as well to help them work through their fears.
Yeah, when you said the 4-letter word, I thought you were going to say male.
It was more of a statement. She said, when you said the 4-letter word, I thought you were going to say male.
Okay, anyway,
You have a question?
Don't you think a lot of it is because of the male-dominated, at least in the States, medical?
Do you think it's all because of men?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, there are, okay, hold on. There are a lot of very supportive men out there, and I think they have an absolute beautiful and vital role in this. However, yeah, there is something about having a woman present with you who's already been through this. There is something about a midwife-centered birth community. You know, one of the first births I did, I was assisting, there was a male doctor who burst into the room and, this is quite vulgar, but you know, shoved his hand inside of the woman and said, okay, I'm giving you 2 hours and then you have a cesarean section. Oh, and I should mention, while his hand was there, he answered his phone. So, I mean, this is stuff that really, you know, goes to my heart. So, yeah, not necessarily because he was a male. However, I think that there's something to be said when you've gone through that rite of passage yourself as a woman, to be there supporting.
Yeah.
Have you been in contact with Ibu Robin here, or Bali Spirit?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet her. She was in the Philippines for most of the time I was here. Did you want to repeat the question?
So the question is, have you met Ibu Robin from Bali Spirit?
Bali Spirit is a birthing center here in Ubud. And I went to her house when she did come back, and then I waited and waited and waited for hours, and she never showed up, and then she showed up right after I left, so I wasn't able to meet her.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Thank you very much.
All right, so he's coming on already. I haven't called you up yet. That's not how this works.
You took too long.
So those of you who have not been to PechaKucha before, or those of you who have been, might have forgotten that the group that puts it on is Ubud, this small little co-working space down on Monkey Forest. If you haven't been, come check it out. Stephen Rose, one of the co-founders, as am I. He's going to do the mid-PechaKucha song and dance. Here he is, Stephen Rose.
I was about to do a jig, but is this timed, or should I click? It's timed. Okay, well that'll keep me honest. Okay, for those of you who have never been there or heard of a co-working space, Ubud is a co-working space. It's a community of entrepreneurs, filmmakers, creatives, digital nomads, really awesome people. And there's around 250 of us from 30 countries. We host a lot of events because we really believe strongly in the value of learning, sharing, and connecting. So this is just to give you an idea of what we have on this week. That's tomorrow, that's Thursday, that's Friday. We typically have around 25 or 30 events per month. If you want to know what we have going on, you can either check our Facebook page, or if you're not on our mailing list already and want to be, send us an email at events@ubud.org. Yeah. There's really only one event in the next month that I personally care about, and that's our birthday party. We're turning 1. Actually, I already did this in March and got lots of claps for the fact that we did turn 1 in March, but we're really slow at organizing parties. So we had our opening party 3 months late. We're having our 1-year party 3 months late, right on schedule. And if we've not done anything right this entire 15 months we've been open, we have had 2 wicked parties. Anybody had any of those? Yeah. Okay. Sound that wicked. So it's happening on June 7th, and it will be wicked, I promise. The last thing I wanted to bring up is our big push this year, starting really over the next couple of months, is launching a project we're really excited about, and that's a learning destination for entrepreneurs, digital nomads, and professionals who want to make the shift from wherever they are living, they're miserable because they're not here with us, from a 9-to-5 working life into the ability to work when they want, where they want, and how they want. So this learning destination will be an online source, a lot of content online, and a series of courses and workshops throughout the year. Now, anybody here like contests? Anybody here like free stuff? Okay, it's very rare that either Peter or I give away anything for free, so we're getting desperate. Project X is not going to be the name of our learning destination. For 2 months, we've been struggling to find the right name for this project. We're going to launch the contest this Friday. It's going to run for about 10 days. And the winner of the contest, if we get the name we want and we use it, gets 3 things. 1 is bragging rights for life. 2 is $1,000 worth of Ubud memberships. 3 is dinner at Peter Wall's house that he's going to cook himself. I'm not sure if he still remembers how to do that, but Peter, you're good with that, right? Okay, so watch this Friday, and our newsletter will go out. It'll be live on our website, and the contest begins. Thank you.
That's fine. All right. And Regina will come too, to the dinner. Okay, moving right along. Our next speaker is both our tallest speaker and our longest living resident in Ubud, which is a good combination. William Ingram is the co-founder of Threads of Life, which is a fair trade business based here in Ubud that works directly with 1,000 traditional weavers on 12 different islands in Indonesia. If you get a chance to talk to him afterward, he has been everywhere in this country and met almost half the people. He's lived in Ubud, as I said, for over 20 years. And through his work, he seeks to demonstrate how profitable businesses can have a social mission, how community businesses can be profitable, and how both can be culturally sensitive. And today, he's going to be, and we have had, it's true, some of these talks before, but he's going to talk about symbolic acts for a secular age, or not another. I already pronounced one Indonesian word wrong today, so Trihita Karanatak. Okay, Regina nodded. All right, here he is, William Ingram. Is that about right? You can hear me?
Oh, let's go back. See the screen. Okay, let's go. A clear cut, an iconic image of our time. In 1989, I was on a domestic flight across Sumatra when we came to the edge of the clear cut. From underneath the plane to the horizon, on one side was the emerald forest, on the other side was bare earth. This experience had a profound effect on me and awoke in my heart a question that has guided me ever since. When I hold as a core value taking care of the earth, and the environment? Why do so many of my actions become destructive? In answering this, I realized that the big questions that define my life, me, where I live and what I do, have little impact on the big picture. But each of these big questions is made up of countless small questions that shape the way I think and the way I act in the world. And then the question becomes for me, how do I connect my values and my actions? And in answering this, I found a key to this in the traditional communities and the symbols and symbolic acts of those communities that we have worked with all across Indonesia. For the last 21 years, my wife Jean and I have been traveling across Indonesia and visiting traditional communities, working with the weavers that Peter talked about. And it is their passion for their culture that has become our passion as well. Magdalena is a traditional weaver from the island of Flores, and we can see in her headdress, in her necklaces, in the motifs of her cloth that she is marriageable. Now these symbols are intangible culture, and intangible culture is the values that a community holds and the ways that it expresses those values. These values that are expressed through intangible culture typically have three particular kinds. They're values about traditional religious practices, they're values connected with land management, and they're values that organize society. Examples of this we can see in many of the places that we work. On the island of Timor, the word for crocodile and ancestor is the same word in Teton, and it may not be spoken outside of ritual. Offerings to the crocodile ancestors are about a community's stewardship of the land. Symbolically, they place people within the web of life rather than as masters over it. On the island of Sumba, the crayfish pattern we see at the bottom of this cloth is about connecting community, and it represents how marriage relationships between communities work asymmetrically. In Bali, this is understood as the concept of Trihita Karana, and this was developed in 1966 as a way of addressing what was seen a growing gap between values and actions in the community's life here on Bali. Now, excuse me for restating something that many of you are very familiar with, but Trihita Karana is about the three ways to happiness. And these are usually about the harmonious relationships between people and God, harmonious relationships between people and nature, and amongst people. And this is stated as being practiced through ritual offerings. Now, in our community, when Trihita Karana is discussed, this last part is usually omitted from the discourse, but it's definitely a non-trivial part of what Trihita Karana is about. Let me talk about how that works. So, values are expressed and made conscious through symbols. Symbolic acts rehearse those symbols in public space. Routines of those symbolic acts turn those into habits of action, and those habits of action become values experienced and expressed in daily life. A little bit ahead of myself. For Jean and me, our experience of this was when we built a house here 21 years ago. We were given the offering tray by the people who lived around, who are our landlords, and said, here, you make the offerings. You've built this, you have responsibility for this space as well. And so it became for us a 2-decade exploration of what the immediate environment around us meant for us. And this has taught me two particular things. For me, the making of the offering is about giving back something to the environment, giving back something of what I have received, and about being a steward where I can't really be in control of everything. And also that underneath that is a practice of gratitude. How is all this relevant in the modern world? For a clue to this, let's go to the island of Nusa Penida and the village of Ped, where there is a temple with shrines to both magic and retail. And so we find in this that marketing perhaps is an art that employs the science of the symbol. And what we see in marketing in our societies is that where it good marketing addresses values of that align with our core issues, our core values, often it doesn't do so. So for me, coming back to the clear cut, it is about I lost my place. When we're looking at how to connect this into our personal lives, we need to examine how this is. I'm really blowing it there. I'm very sorry. Symbols and symbolic acts. If we can understand how this is expressed in our life, if we can participate in the community around us and see how the Balinese do this, it can inform our understanding of how symbols and symbolic acts really have all around us are connecting into our lives and affecting how we do. And if we can reclaim that, we can start to connect our values with our actions in our daily life.
Thank you, William. Questions? Yes.
If the word crocodile could only be spoken in ceremony, how do they refer to the animal in daily life?
Do you want to repeat the question?
How do you refer to crocodile when you can't say the word crocodile? That's a very good question. I believe the way that it's done, it's referred to those that live in the river, those that live in the estuary. It's all done by analogy and by sort of indirection.
Other questions? Yeah.
How can you find out more about is there any specific?
How do you find out about Trihita Karama? We are surrounded by, we live in Bali. This is an incredible opportunity here for us to engage in ritual and symbolism. This is the bit I forgot. And this community is incredibly willing for us to participate and ask questions and be involved. So the Balinese who are around you, ask them what they're doing. Ask them about Trihita Karama. Ask them what this means in their lives. Alex.
Can I ask another one?
Yeah, Alex Ryan.
William, you said that the humanity part of the Trihita Karama is often left off. Why do you think that is?
I didn't mean the humanity part is left off. The bit that I think is often missing in the way it's talked about in the Western community is the connection with offerings. Is that it's seen as these three principles without seeing that it is, in the Balinese context, is intrinsically connected with the practice of making offerings. And so that was my point of departure for an exploration of how symbols and symbolic acts, rituals, have some meaning in the Balinese culture and how they have a parallel meaning in our culture, but we have very little consciousness of how symbols and symbolic acts affect us and permeate our lives.
I have a question.
Oh yes?
Yeah. How under threat do you think are those rituals in Bali?
Under threat? I don't think...
Do you think they're less strong than they used to be when you first arrived?
No, I don't. I think there's every bit as much participation, that they are as large, if not larger than they were. There are whole questions about that, about the conspicuous consumerism that is expressed through spiritual culture, but that's another talk.
Next month.
Very high. All right, our next talk is a bilingual one. We haven't had one of these for a while, and it's great that we have one tonight. So the slides will be every 30 seconds, There'll be 15 seconds of Indonesian and then 15 seconds of English. So the presenter is Eric Est. Eric is a filmmaker from Denpasar, and he's recently produced a film called Jangan, which he's going to talk about tonight. Eric has won numerous awards here in Indonesia, including the Best Indonesian Film at the 1515 Film Festival in Australia. And he's going to talk tonight about his film, Jangan, Harvesting the Wind. Eric Est.
Yeah. You enjoy tonight? You enjoy tonight? Okay, because my language little bit bad, so I have translate. I'm like Jokowi, you know. I translate, I'm the president. This is my assistant. Okay, siap. Okay, yang di gambar ini sekarang adalah foto tahun 1918.
This photo was taken in 1918
di lapangan puputan di Denpasar.
at the Puputan ground in Denpasar.
Dan saya dapat foto ini dari teman saya di Belanda bernama Petra Morbek.
And he received his photos from his friend a Dutch friend called Petra Morbek.
Dan dari foto itu kita mulai meriset untuk membuat film tentang layangan yang namanya Jangan. Jadi ini adalah sketch dari teman saya, dia seorang arsitek yang namanya Yokasara.
So that photos triggers his passion to actually make a movie called Jangan. Jangan is that big kite whose picture that we see earlier. And this is the illustration that was made by one of the architect friend,
Yokasara.
Yokasara.
Yang terus yang di foto ini Yokasara adalah that's Yokasara.
That's him on the photo.
The white t-shirt, ya. Dan sorry.
Both have white t-shirts.
Oke, dan both ya. Dan satu lagi yang di depannya itu salah satu arsitek untuk layangan juga.
Oh, the guy in the foreground is also an architect for the kite.
Ya, ini ilustrasi kita membangun layangan.
So this is what happened when you build the kite.
Sebesar 7 meter,
Height
lebarnya 7 meter.
is 7 meters wide.
Ya, jadi untuk membangun layangan ini minimal sampai 20 orang.
You need 20 people to build one kite.
Ya. Ini berbeda lagi, jadi tadi itu kita melakukan di Banjar berbeda, ini di Sanur. Layangnya tidak begitu besar, sekitar 5 meter. Cuma bedanya, jadi saya bikin 2 scene yang berbeda.
Okay, so this one is a different kite. This one is made in Sanur and it's only 5 meters wide.
Dan saya membuat 2 scene yang berbeda.
And he's making 2 different scenes in the movie.
Ya, karena yang di Sanur dia lebih profesional daripada yang di Denpasar.
Because the Sanur one is made more professionally than the one that in other Banjar that we see earlier.
Ya, dan ini Samsul. Dia adalah penjahit. Dulunya dia penjahit untuk baju dan celana.
Oh, this is Sangtu and he's a tailor. He used to make trousers, shirts, and other clothing.
Ya, sekarang dia menjahit ekor karena uangnya lebih banyak.
Oh, now he made this because it gives him more money.
Ya, karena di layangan itu, kalau layangannya 3 meter, berarti ekornya itu sekitar 60 meter, jadi 3 dikali 20.
Oh, so if the kite is 3 meters, and so the tail has to be
60
meters, it's 3 times longer than the width of the kite.
Ya, dan ini tapel. Jadi ini tapel yang dikeramatkan karena dia dibuat dari kayu poli.
This is what we call tapo, a mask of the dragon, and this is sacred because it's made from the wood of a pole tree.
Pole tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know the English one for that. The pole tree.
Jadi biasanya sebelum mereka menaikkan layangan itu mereka selalu melakukan kayak upacara namanya pengetepan.
So before they rise the kite onto the air, they have a certain ceremony called
Pengetepan.
pengetepan.
Ya, dan itu biasanya prosesnya lama.
And the process usually takes a while.
Ya, ini salah satu pencinta layang-layang juga. Dan itu Petra Morbek yang menemukan fotonya.
Oh, the lady in the left side of the photos is Petra, the one who discovered the photos that we saw earlier.
Ya, dia mahasiswi dari Belanda.
She is a student from Netherlands.
Dan ini jadi sebelum kita menaikkan layangan, pada saat lomba itu tapelnya ditutupin dulu, saya lupa namanya apa.
So before we rise the kite into the air, the mask of the dragon has to be covered first.
Namanya apa saya lupa karena tapi ini tidak sakral. Jadi kita cuma upacara namanya pasopati.
Oh, so this one is not the sacred tapel. That's why the ceremony is called pasupati.
Ya, dan ini adalah festival layangan biasanya dimulai pertengahan Juli, middle of June.
This is the kite festival.
Dan ya biasanya bisa 3 hari dan mencapai 10.000 orang.
It can take 3 days and involves 10,000 people.
10.000 yang ikut festivalnya.
10,000 people who participate in the festival.
Ya, ini pada saat kita mau menuju ke perlombaannya.
Oh, this is how you transport the kite onto the festival ground.
Ya, jadi ini sebenarnya foto-foto yang saya kasih lihat ini adalah scene-scene dari film yang saya bikin.
So these are the photos. These photos are some of the scenes that is already in the movies that he created.
Ini dari Sanur Abian Timbul. Jadi waktu scene mereka ini kita menaikkan layangan sekitar 5 km dari pantai.
So this is taken at Abian Timbul in Sanur.
Ya.
Yeah, and they were trying to raise the kites about 5 kilometers from the
Ya.
beach.
Jadi layangannya 5 km di sana, yang nariknya itu sekitar 5 km juga.
Oh, so the kite is over here, and 5 meters later, 5 kilometers.
5 km.
5 kilometers later are the guys who's supposed to pull it
Ya.
up.
Dan a little bit promote ya sekarang. Jadi tadi beberapa scene yang saya ceritakan, dan sekarang film kita ada di Cineplex, di Denpasar Cineplex, khusus di Denpasar Cineplex aja. Judulnya Janggan. Ini foto di luarnya. Dan ini salah satu pemainnya namanya Kak Sukadi.
So the movie is currently playing at Denpasar Cineplex, and this is one of the stars called.
Ya, yang tua.
His name is
Kak Sukadi. Dan dia sudah menang beberapa kali di festival layangan tahun 1960, saya lupa.
And he won the festival several times in 1960s.
Ya. Ini kita opening sebelum filmnya diputar di bioskop. Jadi ada beberapa penari, dia menarikan seperti layangan.
Oh, this was at the opening of the screening, and this dancer is actually depicting the kites, like the movement and the position.
Ya, jadi kita bisa lihat di sini ya. Tapi saya nggak ngerti kenapa dia harus naikin. Ini beberapa teman saya jadi beberapa penonton yang menghadiri premier di film Janggan. Jadi mereka kayaknya selfie aja foto di bannernya Janggan.
Yeah, some of the people who went to see the movie on the premiere day took a selfie on the movie banner.
What you said to be selfie? Ya, mereka langsung selfie. Jadi ini waktu premier ya kita full, dan ini salah satu narator di film kita, Sandrina Malagiano, dia juga membuka acara untuk film Janggan.
This is the narrator of the movie, Sandrina Malagiano, and he's one of the famous Indonesian presenter, and he was also at the premiere.
Ya.
Premiere day.
Jadi ini adalah psikologi waktu kita di premier saja sebenarnya.
This is just like some photos from the premiere event.
Dan ini foto kita foto waktu ya premier juga di dalam bioskop, dan waktu premier kita full sekali. Jadi
this is one of the scene from the movie, yeah? This is also taken from the premiere day. It was jam-packed. Lots of people went to see the movie.
Okay, this is Janggan, dan the ticket is like sorry, I'm from the ticket is like sold out until 28, but kita memutar filmnya sampai tanggal 29 mungkin. Jadi saya berpikir untuk bikin film Janggan ini karena banyak sebenarnya negara-negara lain yang mendokumentasikan apa yang ada di Bali, dan itu semuanya ada di Belanda gitu waktu itu.
So he made this movie because he found a lot of documentaries from about Bali culture, but it's stored in the Netherlands.
Di Belanda dan Swiss. Jadi paling nggak di Bali sudah punya satu sejarah yang namanya Janggan, dan yang punya sendiri Bali sendiri.
Okay, so it was stored in Netherlands and Switzerland, but at the Street Janggan, now we have one that is already stored in Bali by local people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the translator, Chitra. All right, any questions for Eric from China?
Can I ask you in English or do you want it in Bahasa?
Up to you, English.
I didn't understand. On your website, it says that this film is depicting Balinese cultural values through the kite festival. Can you explain what you mean by that and how you depict that?
The question is, on your website it says the film promotes Balinese or... I didn't hear the question.
Nilai budaya dari Bali. Jadi bagaimana itu masnya itu apa nilai itu bisa terbentuk dalam film.
Oke, di Bali itu jadi sebelum saya bikin film Janggan ini, before I'm talking, I'm not Sumatra, I'm Batak, I'm not Balinese, but I live in Bali like from 1999 until now. Jadi sebelum saya bikin film Janggan ini, saya mempelajari yang namanya Rariangon.
So before she created this movie Janggan, he learned
Rariangon itu.
Rariangon.
Ya, jadi dari kecil Bali itu memang sudah senang main layang-layangan. Kalau zaman dulu itu di Bali pada saat mereka main layangan itu untuk menolak hama.
So from little, Bali kids usually play kites, but they used to play kites to repel pest.
Tetapi di Janggan sendiri itu dia mempunyai spiritual yang kuat karena dia punya tapel, ya, dia punya ekor dan dia punya badan. Jadi seperti orang nari yang namanya agam.
So Janggan itself is more sacred, more spiritual because it has a head, a body, and a tail. So it looks like somebody who's dancing, right?
Ya, dan kadang-kadang juga susah saya bilang, mereka itu lebih mementingkan tapalnya daripada banjar-banjarnya gitu. Jadi kalau misalnya satu banjar itu sakit, mereka harus naikin layangannya.
So they prioritize the tapel, the mask of the dragon, right?
Yeah.
They prioritize it more than the people in Banjar.
Ya, jadi kalau di Banjar itu misalnya gini, nama Banjar ada yang pekan, and all the people at that, they get the sick, and they talk to Mangku, they talk to Balian. Oh, you must take the kite and make fly to the sun or like that, and they make it like that. Jadi yeah, you can watch it in cinema if you want.
It's sold out. How can I go see it?
Question up there?
Oh, you do?
What makes the Balinese hard to make the like from the section sama language?
Oke, sebenarnya di Bali waktu saya riset, saya tanya sama orang Bali, mereka nggak tahu artinya janggan itu apa. Tapi kalau if you check in Java, jadi one of village in Java di Jawa Tengah itu ada nama desa Janggan.
So at the early part of the research, we tried to ask around like Balinese, and most of the Balinese, they don't know what Janggan is. But one village in Java is actually named Janggan.
Nah, dan saya berusaha untuk menarik garis yang dari Jawa sampai Bali, ternyata memang nggak ada kaitannya.
But both are not related at all.
Jadi waktu saya tanya kenapa namanya Janggan, dia bilang ya belum lagi itu beli terus saya nawang memang dari dulu Janggan gitu. Jadi kita pun nggak tahu sampai sekarang kenapa namanya Janggan gitu. Ya. Di Belanda juga sudah kita cek sejarahnya dan memang nggak ada. Jadi yang di sana tuh cuma ada kind of dragon gitu. Okay.
So yeah, he tried to find out what Janggan is originated, but he couldn't find it. In Netherlands, it was referred as the kite of the dragon.
Okay, you know what? From there.
If you have more questions for Eric, you can ask him outside after.
Can we see
Okay.
the movie here?
Oh, the question is, can you see the movie here in Bali?
After it's, well, no, he says it's all sold out.
Oh, it's already finished. Can we see it here at betelNut?
Can we bring it after
Do. All right. Can we watch it here? Bisa lihat di sini?
I will talk to my promoter and I will talk to my producer. I promise to make my movie at here.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, our last presenter of the night is Robert Bagnall. Robert is an author and a sustainable organic food production evangelist. And he's lived in Bali for about a year. Prior to that, he was living in Hawaii. And it was in Hawaii where he learned to grow his own food. And tonight, he's going to talk about Homa organic farming as a global solution to pollution. Robert Bagnall.
Thank you. Go ahead. Okay. It's a little warm in here, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, no matter what side of the global warming issue you find yourself, whether you believe it to be a politically motivated agenda to increase our taxes worldwide, or whether you believe the science is flawless and the computer-generated models are perfect in every way, it is not the most pressing issue facing us. The fact is that we have other things to concern ourselves with. That is toxicity in the air, the water, and the soil, which is causing us to have more cancer at an alarming rate, bee colony collapse disorder, and the topsoil is being destroyed, which is responsible for the food production for our planet. And why should you care? Well, if it's not enough to care for yourself, what about future generations? What about the children that are yet unborn? Now, you think you can make a difference just because you can't make a difference because you're small? Well, I have an answer for that. And so does the Dalai Lama. Yes, you can. Absolutely, a resounding, absolutely can. Now, this solution that I'm going to talk about tonight cannot be legislated by governments, and it cannot be implemented by corporations. nor would it be even if they could. Because only we, the people, are big enough to do the work that's required. Thank you. Thank you very much. You see, when the solution is simple, God is answering. This was a quote by Albert Einstein, one of the great minds of the 20th century. Agnihotra is straightforward, and it has been resuscitated for our benefit. It comes from the Vedas, and it is a very scientific process. It has a little bit to do with ritual, but it has a lot to do with science. It's performed at sunrise and sunset. It establishes the basic healing rhythms of nature, known as circadian rhythms, that correspond to the sunrise and sunset cycle. It has profound benefits for us all. Here are a few of them. Effective bioremediation. Community unity. It brings people together. It creates genuine peace and love in that community, which results in real prosperity, lasting happiness, rejuvenated ecology, vibrant well-being, and health. It comes to us through the Vedas, from the Sanskrit Vedas, which were written in Sanskrit, which is said of them that the gap between the analytically intuitive, the brain and the heart, mathematics and music, science and spiritual, shows the way to a more holistic approach to the challenges we all face. Some of the benefits that come from performance of Agnihotra are relief of tension from the mind, a reduction in the negative environment, which there's a lot of that around these days. There is a bioremediation effect on the soil, air, and water resources of our planet, which can be proven and has been over the last 41 years. The ash that results from this fire, which is done at sunrise and sunset, has all 92 trace elements and minerals in it. It's called the Mighty 90. And this we all need in our bodies today because the food doesn't have it anymore. That's a fact. Okay. Agnihotra and radioactivity is something that very few people understand, but radioactivity can actually be changed by the performance of Agnihotra. It makes it harmless. One story comes to mind I can talk about. I talk more about this in my book, and I welcome you to download it for free from my website. Now, the bees are also on their way out, and Einstein had something to say about that. Said that, of course, after 4 years, man will be gone if the bees are gone. But when you do Agnihotra, the bee's hormone structure changes, and this actually helps to increase the yields within the farm itself. So the bees pollinate the plants, and the hormones transfer to cause a reaction within the plant that gives it more yield. The solubility of phosphate is an important element on the farm, because without phosphate we don't get fruits and we don't get flowers and we don't have the production that we need. This is a picture of a girl that I met in India that was struck by an allergy caused by penicillin, and for 8 years her family struggled with this. After 21 doctors and many dollars later, she was still non-cured. But after 2 months of Agnihotra and ash treatment with ghee, she was cured and she looks lovely today. Now, another example of the healing power of Agnihotra can be found in South America as a result of the DEA spraying the coca plantations with a poison that was so horrible it would put a hole in your car. It destroyed the soil so much so that nothing would grow. When we went down there, we were asked to teach these people this, and they a little bit reluctant and weren't quite sure about this, but they took it in hand, and they got a result that can only be described as miraculous. We were able to take their farm in 2 months, remediate the soil of all toxins. They're growing coffee, coca, yucca, cacao, not coca, and now mango. I use here as an example here of the kind of results that we're getting. From 2002, there was a 50,000 kilogram yield, and as you can see, it goes up, almost doubling every year for the next 6 or 7 years. So, this is the ancient solution to modern pollution. And I welcome you to check it out in my book, which is for free. And I'm here as a volunteer. I've been doing this for 41 years. And I want you to know how it can make a change in your life. That's why I'm talking to you tonight. And this is how it's done. The timing of it is very, very important. So you have to have all the ingredients, all the implements, and of course a timing sheet for your particular location. I welcome you to contact me. I'm available to do talks anywhere you would like. I don't ask for anything, but if you want to donate, I'm very happy to accept with gratitude. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll take your questions now. Yes.
Maybe you mentioned it and I missed it, but how long did it take them to see those results after implementing?
How long did it take for which results?
The one the picture you showed where they started to grow the cow again and you could
Oh, great. Yeah, 2 months. Yeah, it was a very short period of time, as is the case in just about every situation we've come across. And we've done this all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a unique situation, but it's one of the more documented ones. And it's one that I use in my book because it's just so dramatic and really does illustrate the efficacy of this practice. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Dr. Hurd.
Could you say a word about the thing you touched on, the milk, the radioactivity?
Well, I didn't have a chance. Things go so fast, but there's a lot of words here. But I will tell you more about it. This is a woman that I knew. I've known her for many, many years, for more than 30 years now. Karen Herschel and her husband Roland were living in Austria at the time of Chernobyl. And when Chernobyl melted down and caused terrible poisoning of the atmosphere around that region, the government in Austria went out and they collected specimens of milk and fodder and soil and groundwater from the surrounding areas. And when they went to Karen Herschel's farm and they collected the samples, they went their merry way and expecting to find radioactivity in the samples. And when they didn't find any, they returned the next day and they said, "We think we made a mistake. We'd like to take some more samples." So they took some more samples and they went back to analyze them, and there was no radiation to be found in them. And so they came back a third day and said, "Let me ask you something. What are you doing on the farm that's different?" And they answered. They said, "Well, we really don't do anything differently here, but we do this Agnihotra fire in the morning and the evening." And they said, "Oh," and they walked away like, sure. And they didn't take any lesson from that. They didn't. I mean, this is miraculous. You don't get any of this stuff, and yet they get it everywhere else, but they don't listen to this one thing that they said because it was just too bizarre that it couldn't really be, but in fact it is so. Okay, next question. Yes?
Can you explain the process of that fire? Like, how does that work?
Absolutely, I'll try to do it very quickly. In the morning and in the evening, the sunrise, at sunrise and sunset, the energies that emanate from the sun come all the way in a flood in the morning, and they recede in the evening. And these energies are in the shape of a pyramid. So there's a resonance between the pyramid and the energies that come from the sun. And then the copper pyramid also is a transmitter-receiver. The fire is also an aspect of this, as are the ingredients that are burned in the pot. And then there's an accompanying mantra which is offered with the offering of rice. And this is, it may sound ritual, but it is in fact science. All ritual, in my opinion, here's Robert Bagnall's philosophy of life. Everything has its foundation in science. All ritual has its foundation in science. It's just that over time, ladies and gentlemen, the rituals have changed because mankind just can't seem to keep his hands off creation. It has to continually change things. So the Vedas have been resuscitated now, and Agnihotra has been resuscitated in a form that we can all do together that actually will affect a powerful remediation of the soil, air, and water resources of our planet. It also has a huge benefit for us personally because it ushers in a sense of peace, well-being, and the ash, of course, can be used for healing, as we saw in that example that I used for the lady in India. Thank you for that question. Good question.
All right, we're gonna stop it there. If you have more questions for Robert, he'll be outside in the courtyard.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Just two quick things. betelNut is our host tonight, so a round of applause for Tara and Odette for hosting us. They have an event coming up on the 14th of June, Cosmic Comedy, so it's going to be another good one if you've been to one of the past. And a reminder, tomorrow from 12 to 2, there's a community safety meeting at Yoga Barn. And if you're going to come, please park in the back because the parking lot in the front will be full. Thanks everyone. We'll see you around. Take care.
Don't think 'twas alright.